Hey friends, I'm up in Santa Fe teaching a lesson today, in person, one of my first in-person lessons in a long time. So, the last couple days, I think I mentioned this in my post yesterday, there's been some pretty big stuff coming up. You know, my insights into the nature of success as I experience it, the nature of my obstacles to success, keeps on deepening. Turns out my relation to success has an inflection point or a hinge or a frozen complex, a fusion with my experience of the feminine, of women. There's all this programming showing up, and phew, I can tell. I've been reading my journals lately. I've been reading my journals from my time in London. So we're talking, starting 15, 16 years ago up through 11 or 12 years ago. And what's remarkable about my experience now is that it's almost, and this is so funny. It's so funny that this is how the universe works, because I started that process and I started sort of going back to that era in my mind as I was reading my journals, and again going back to this, where my thinking was at that time, and then almost like the felt sense of that experience of revisiting that time created the space for me to go back into that same kind of felt sense and uncover some of the same patterning, programming, emotional blockages, emotional stuff that I was experiencing at the time. And, on one level, it's like, well, took you long enough, right? Like, this is 12 years ago or more. Why are these blocks still there? And my answer to that, first of all, it's like, that's always the experience. FYI, if you ever undertake the spiritual journey, be prepared to repeatedly and frequently experience the thought, why didn't I know this sooner? Why didn't I get this sooner? And it's bullshit. It's a bullshit thought. All it is the ego finding yet another way of deflating the success that we're experiencing now by pretending as though this revelation, this moment, the insight that is coming through the now moment should have happened at some other point in our life so that our life now would be different than it is. It's a bullshit technique that the ego will apply over and over and over again. Why didn't I know this sooner? I can't believe it took me so long to get this. Right? Once we start looking at our programming and unraveling the deep structures, it's almost inevitable that we'll have that experience. So look out for that and dismiss it. But there's another level to this, which is I'm coming to the work from a completely different place. I'm a completely different human being with completely different capacities, and I'm able to, things that when I watch myself on the page of my journals in 12 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, me wrestling with these questions and then dodging out of the way, like ducking the punches that the insights are trying to deliver. And now I'm much more able to face into those punches and take them on the chin. I don't know why. I'm older. I'm ready. But what's kind of so both surprising but also empowering and encouraging is the fact that I can go back to that same place. I can make myself feel the way I felt in my early 30s, wrestling with questions that, again, I feel like I should have handled this in my 20s, right? That's what I thought in my 30s. Now I'm in my 40s, and I'm thinking the same thought about what I realized in my 30s, which at the time I felt like I should have handled at a prior time. How young? When was it exactly that I was supposed to have dealt with this? In high school? Or really by high school I should have been through that, middle school. Right? So I'm taking all that on. I'm saying all this out loud because there's a certain respect for the process and there's a certain embrace of what is true now and what was available to me now that I want to just have boundless gratitude for. And when I go back to that icky place, it's almost like, ooh, nostalgia. I get to feel the misery that I felt when I was in my early 30s. That's like being born again. I mean, it's not. It's unpleasant, but it's a good place to be. It's a good place to be because it puts me into a state where I recognize that the potential for learning is never lost. Maybe I buried some things when I was in my early 30s. Maybe those things that I was dealing with in my 30s that I buried then were things that I had already unearthed from prior periods. And, you do this long enough and you realize, wait, what if it happened in an earlier lifetime? Annalise was asking me about prior lifetimes last night. She's asking me how death works, and she's wanting to make sure that next time we all get born again, we're in the same family. So when does this end? How far back do you have to go before it's like, okay, that was the right time to have learned this lesson? When is now the right time to learn the lessons? And the experience of being transported back to the icky, sticky, not fully resolved emotional territory of a prior period of my life is encouraging because it's like it's always still available. I can always go back there. I always have the ability to go and revisit that and dig in and deal with what I'm now ready to deal with. Work with it from the perspective that I now have, and with the leverage that I now have over myself to make changes and to be fearless. So that's the last 24-ish hours of my life. It's been a big one. It's been a big thing, a big door opening. And I really hope, I'm just excited to see where this goes. I'm really excited to see where this goes and to kind of stick with it. I'm already beginning to, yesterday I talked a little bit about the state that I found around success, the obstacles. The obstacle side of the coin kind of was embellished today by this recognition of, this is very bound up with my relationship to women, which now, psychically revolves around my relationship with my wife. A whole bunch of stuff there that kind of informs the obstacles. And already I can feel a new story emerging and a strategy, certainly at least for this process, a strategy emerging to stick with some of these revelations and to own some of these feelings so that I can ascribe them to what they are actually attributable to, which is generally, past trauma, past experience, past karma, and start to grow. I'm not going to try and banish this stuff because you can't do that, but you can let it go. You can sit with it, be grateful for it, and allow it the space to express what it needs to express. That's the thing about letting go of patterns. You got to let them express what they need to express, so that can convert the stuck emotion into an insight. Oftentimes a very high level insight about a larger pattern in our life, or a perspective on when some of this stuff about my relationship to women came up this morning, it threw a net around my entire time that I lived in London and everything I was going through. It made perfect sense of all of it. Chaotic time, lots of ups and downs, lots of confusion. Makes perfect sense in the context of some of the insights showing up. So, and I'm happy to go into more detail about this. This post isn't about personal sharing for me so much as it's about illuminating the process of discovery that is really effective. But there's a lot of data there too that can come through if it needs to. That's where I'm at today, folks. Whew. Fasten your seatbelt, Robin. But I appreciate you for watching. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.